I was going to ask you about the Rory McIlroy thing because it's very easy when you're paired with a guy like that to kind of get distracted, not pay attention to your own game as much as you're like, oh my God, I'm playing with the number one player in the world over here. And obviously that advice Charlie gave you works very, very well in that situation. Is that something you just told yourself all day when you were playing with him, or did you ever find yourself kind of watching and being like, maybe I can learn something from this guy at the same time?
Yeah, both. I watched. It's hard not to.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
His first 2 drives he hit that day were the dumbest things I've ever seen. Like his line on one was a joke right, and it was in the middle of the fairway, like lob wedge in. So I watched, but I also knew what I was getting into, fortunately, like getting to see so much of his golf, knowing how amazing he is. But at the same time, like what I used to hang my hat on when I was like in college and in junior golf was I kind of had a slow progression. I always kind of took a little bit to get, my feet wet a little bit, get my legs under me. But I always had that chip. Like I remember I played Justin Thomas in college in match play, and my junior year, his freshman year, he just got player of the year. And I remember showing up to that day just thinking, if it's just me versus you, I'm taking me. Like I'm just going to believe in myself. And that was always kind of how I like prided myself. I put a lot of pride in that, being like a dog all the time. So in that case, it was almost perfect. Like it was his birthday. They kept singing to him, and not one soul, for good reason, cared that I was there. And I just kept telling myself, I was like, I'm going to make like these people know who I am. And it was like it like really brought out like a chip on my shoulder. Because I think in 2017, I didn't have a chip. I was kind of a shell of myself. I was almost hiding a little bit because it's incredibly embarrassing. You had one of the funniest digs at me of all time. I don't even know if you remember. We were at Shadow Creek, and I
first off, I don't remember much of my time at Shadow Creek.
Colt, the king of like the funny diss or whatever. But you were talking to Perez or something about the USAM when I finally turned around trying to be a smart aleck like I am, and I said, oh yeah, Colt, USAM, how much money did you win? You said almost as much as you did last year. I was like, yeah, I mean, but these are the things, like I had to get over being embarrassed by them. And like what I started to realize is my friends weren't like, they weren't embarrassed of me. Like they weren't looking at me like I was less. Like Colt wasn't looking at me like I was less. It was like, stop looking at yourself like that. You're awesome. Like I had to start becoming like my own biggest fan. That's why I tell a lot of people these days, like whatever you do, if you don't love like what you're doing, you don't think you're great at it, then you're not going to be great at it. Cause then people will start to, take notice. But, I've had a lot of friends tell me now, like Joel Damon said, he didn't realize how bad that year was going in my head. Everyone knows how bad I was. So it's like, clearly like an exaggeration in my own brain.